Hi, welcome to Apex Tai Chi. This is Dr. Jia. This week, I want to talk about habits. Did you notice some habits that actually drain you? Like drinking too much, smoking, eating when we are not truly hungry, watching television for hours, scrolling endlessly, staying up too late, or putting things off again and again. When we talk about habits, we often think of the behavior itself. These habits matter because they do affect us. They take something from us, not always all at once, but slowly. They take our time, our energy, our clarity, our sleep, our confidence, and sometimes even the quiet respect we have for our own choices. At first, an unhelpful habit may not feel harmful. In fact, it often feels like relief. A drink helps us switch off. A cigarette gives us a small pause. Food gives comfort. Television or the phone gives us an easy escape from the noise of the day. For a short moment, the body feels soothed, distracted, or numbed. This is why these habits are powerful. They work, but only for a moment. The difficulty is what happens afterwards. Many people know this feeling. The mind becomes dour. The body feels heavier. The breath is less free. There is often a quiet disappointment inside because part of us knows that we have moved further away from ourselves. That habit promised comfort, but it did not really return us to peace. It gave us a short escape, but not true freedom. It gave us a temporary change of feeling, but not a real change of state. This is where Tai Chi gives us a very different way to understand unhelpful habits. From a Tai Chi and Taoist perspective, a habit does not begin only with the behavior. The behavior is important, but it is not the whole story. Before we drink, before the cigarette, before the screen, before the repeated pattern, there is usually a state inside the body and mind. There may be tension, tiredness, anxiety, loneliness, frustration, emptiness, restlessness, or simply a feeling of being disconnected from ourselves. So the behavior is the visual part. Underneath it, there is a state that has not yet been seen clearly. This is why I believe the real work begins with the mind. When I say mind, I do not only mean thinking. In Tai Chi, the mind is not just the thoughts in the head. The mind is also awareness. It is knowing. It is the ability to notice what is happening to the body, in the breath, in the emotion, and in the movement before we are pulled into automatic reaction. In Chinese, we can think of this as 知, knowing, not knowing as information, but knowing as awakening. You know what is happening inside you. You know when the body is becoming tense. You know when the breath is becoming shallow. You know when your energy is becoming scattered. You know when the old habit is beginning to call you. This kind of knowing is very powerful. Without awareness, a habit controls us before we even realize it. The body feels uncomfortable, and immediately the old pattern appears. We reach for the drink, the cigarette, the food, the screen, the distraction. It feels like a choice, but often it is not a full choice. It is a reaction. It is a conditioned movement of the body and mind. Tai Chi trains us to see earlier. This is why slow practice is so important. Slow movement reveals the mind. When we move slowly, we can see where we rush, where we tense, where we collapse, where we become impatient, where we lose balance, and where we want to escape the present moment and jump to the next thing. In normal life, everything is too fast. We move from one task to another, one screen to another, one desire to another. The old habit loves speed because speed gives us no time to notice. But Tai Chi slows the whole system down. The body slows, the breath slows, the mind begins to observe. In that observation, we begin to wake up. This is one of the deepest ways Tai Chi can support change. It does not simply tell us, stop that bad habit. Most people already know what they should stop. Smokers know smoking is harmful. People who drink too much usually know it is affecting them. People who scroll for hours know they are losing time. The problem is not always lack of information. The problem is that the mind has not become strong and awake enough at the exact moment when the habit begins. Tai Chi strengthens that moment. It trains the mind to come back before the reaction takes over. It teaches us to pause, to feel, to notice, to return. I often say Tai Chi is not just a movement. Tai Chi is a state of being centered, grounded, awake, and connected. It is a way of returning to the original condition before we are scattered by craving, pressure, fear, or distraction. In traditional Chinese, we call this returning to Wuji. Wuji is the state before movement divides into opposites, before the body becomes pulled in different directions, before the mind becomes caught by desire and resistance. In everyday language, we can say it is returning to our baseline, returning to our center, returning to the place where we can say clearly again. This is not a passive state. It is a living stillness. The feet connected to the ground. The breath has space. And the attention returns from the outside world back into the body. In this state, Qi can flow more naturally, and the mind has a space to settle. When the body is tense, the mind becomes tight. When the breath is shallow, emotion becomes unstable. When attention is always pulled outwards, we lose contact with our center. And when we lose that center, old habits find an easy door to enter. This is why Tai Chi does not begin by fighting the habits. It begins by changing the state that feeds the habit. If we only fight a habit, we often create more pressure. I must stop. I must control myself. I must be stronger. But this can become another inner war, and the stressed body often returns to the very thing that gives temporary relief. Tai Chi begins differently. It begins with returning. Return to the feet. Return to the breath. Return to the center. Return to awareness. Return to the quiet place before craving becomes action. This is what I mean when I say Tai Chi trains the mind through the body. Through slow movement, we notice earlier. We notice the lifted shoulders, the high breath, the restless mind, the urge to escape, and the moment the old habits begins to call us. That moment of knowing matters. Without awareness, the habit controls us before we realize it. With awareness, a small space opens between the impulse and action. That space is where change begins. So before the drink, the cigarette, the scrolling, the overeating, or the hours of television, pause, stand for a moment, Feel your feet. Let the shoulders soften. Let the breath descend. Practice the few slow opening and closing. Return to yourself first before deciding what to do next. This does not mean Tai Chi magically removes serious habits. But Tai Chi can change the inner ground. The restless mind settles. The tense body softens. The scattered chi returns. Awareness becomes stronger. So this week, do not begin with shame, begin with awareness. Before asking, how do I stop this? Ask, what state appears before this habit? Before you follow the old habit, return first. Every time you return before reacting, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the awakened mind. This is Dr. Jia at Apex Tai Chi. If you want to explore more opinions and practices to help yourself to change the old pattern, get in touch. My information is below. Remember, remain curious and be well.